Hello and welcome to the Unfazed podcast.
I'm Emmett.
And I'm Ben.
Good to be back.
So today we're gonna talk about things. How you been, everybody? I'm just checking in on you. How you been? How you doing? I'm checking on you. How you been?
Good.
It's my little Bill Burr.
Yeah, it's good.
How you doing? It's the Thursday morning just before Friday afternoon Monday podcast. The beautiful Nia out there. Love Bill Burr. God,
yeah, he's
the
good.
Man. It's funny, Bill Burr is one of my favorite comedians because I listen to him so much. I've listened to so many hours of Bill Burr because of his podcast, and it's so strange when you think about it because like I've never met the guy yet, and it's like same with Joe Rogan. Never met the guy, but I've listened to like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of their podcasts, and it's like one of their recent podcasts. Rogan was talking about how you can't really hide. You can't really have like a fake personality. You can't really hide anything from the fans or the listeners because they're hearing you so much. You know, it's like what you get is kind of face value with those guys.
That's true.
And I think it's awesome, because it's like, you listen to hundreds of hours of these guys and it's clearly who they are.
Right, yeah.
And I think it makes you respect them more as comedians and like them more because it's almost like hearing a friend. And I think that's the goal of a podcast.
Right, I was about to say the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry.
why people like him so much.
Sorry you guys don't get that with us. I'm just going to apologize up front.
This is all fake.
Yeah.
It's all a ruse.
Yeah, I'm not really Ben. I'm Cindy.
Terrifying.
So how you been? What's new?
I'm good. Oh, I was just thinking the other day, too, going off of Bill Burr, that I think two of my favorite comedians right now, always Jerry, but also Bill Burr. So the fact, I was realizing how between Bill Burr and Jerry Seinfeld, they're both great, but they're great in, like, for the opposite reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Burr is always known as, like, the rage comedian who, he sort of judges stuff and picks apart stuff and talks about it was dumb. He doesn't like it.
Yeah, he's more critical.
Yeah. And Jerry Seinfeld is so, like, wholesome, and he never gets angry or curses or talks about anything, like, vaguely political. And yet it's interesting how in interviews I've noticed that Jerry seems almost more annoyed by, like, PC culture. He's always like, PC culture is like the death of comedy. Yeah. And yet I feel like most of his comedy isn't affected by that.
Yeah.
And Bill Burr almost seems more chill about that stuff in interviews. I mean, he always rants about it in his podcast and his sets and stuff, but when he's like, on an interview and someone is asking him questions, he's more like a centrist a lot of the time. He's kind of like, it could be this, it could be that, everything's cool. I think everyone just needs to calm down. Yeah. Which is interesting because he's always, I think he gets it out through his material. So he's like, in real life, he's more chill about it. Whereas Jerry
seems a little more frustrated.
Yeah, it's more like repressed like us and like everyone else.
I can't tell you exactly where I heard it, what interview it was, or if it was on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I can't remember exactly, but I remember someone talking to Jerry and saying that he actually is a very angry comic. It's just most people don't notice it because he kind of interweaves it into his act, and like he's kind of a jolly, likable guy, but he is an angry comic. It's just kind of more subtle.
It's interesting, yeah. Because you can tell he's a very like angry guy with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think his angers are reasonable. Yeah, but
it's like a frustration with the world.
Yeah, like especially just watching his sets like on Seinfeld, on the show Seinfeld. He's so jolly and wholesome and fun and it's just
what's
so
the deal?
Yeah, right. All his materials about the most like he did he did a set about like dirty laundry, like all this like mundane shit that it's just totally, there's no way you could get mad at it. There's nothing to judge there, and it's like it's good, and that speaks to him as like as a comedian. It's a testament to how good he is because it's really hard. It's easy to garnish an audience and get people interested when you're saying really controversial shit. Yeah.
A lot of this stuff has a shelf life.
Yeah. But Jerry like managed to stay away from that completely. At least in the forefront of his comedy, he's always very his stuff is timeless because of it.
I think a lot of what makes comedy great is that a lot of stuff is relatable, and with Jerry's stuff, it's like the epitome of like mundane, relatable day-to-day stuff. Yeah. And it's like if you can relate to it, it makes you laugh. So I think that's kind of his thing. And he also came up in an era when cursing and being vulgar and kind of trying to shock the audience wasn't really as much of a thing when Seinfeld and those guys were coming up in the early 80s. And if you wanted to get played on TV like Johnny Carson, you had to be able to perform clean.
Right.
So I think that's why Jerry's stuff is so wholesome, kind of like Tim Allen, guys like that. It was just kind of the era they came up in and the style, you know? Yeah. And does it still hold up now? That's up to the audience, really. Depends on what you like. But that's definitely the style that worked best for him.
Yeah, that's a good point because, Jerry's a guy who's like, he's sort of obsessive over his work, and he has a certain high degree of professionalism because I think he separates himself, like his personal self, from his work. Yeah. Whereas like a guy like Bill Burr, he's so likable because, like you were saying, what you get is really him. You know, you feel like he's a buddy, and he's so comfortable on stage. He doesn't really... I mean, he does silly voices and stuff, but otherwise his set is really just him talking, essentially. Yeah. With Jerry, it's more like a show. And I remember Jerry saying... Someone asked him about Bill Cosby, because Bill Cosby was one of Jerry's biggest influences in comedy when he was young. And he was like, after all this...
Whatever happened to that guy?
Right, yeah. So he was like, after all this stuff going on with Bill Cosby, what do you have to say about him, how he influenced you, excuse me. And Jerry said, I can separate him from his work. I don't have a problem with that. And that, I think, is also reflective of him. I think he separates himself from his work. He has a certain mindset going into his work, which is, more classical, like Johnny Carson, that era. And then he, as a personal guy, is like, almost completely different. It's obviously connected, but, I think he maintains like almost a barrier between the two, whereas a guy like Bill Burr it's just him. There's no professional Bill Burr, no professional Bill Burr or
Boar's Head,
or personal Bill Burr. It's all just one thing. So
definitely, and I think a lot of comedians kind of make that distinction early on, and they make that decision like, hey, am I going to be the performer like Andrew Dice Clay, kind of going on like Dice was a character, and then that was the character that got hot and popular, so he like rolled with it. But it's like he was I forget his real name. I have to Google it, but. He was just a comedian. Same with Larry the Cable Guy, It's like that character took off. So it's like, I mean, that's kind of an extreme example. But some other guys, I feel like Jerry and stuff, they go on, they do an act, they go home. That's not fully them. But Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, like, with the advent of the podcast as well, it's like you get a much deeper look into the way they think and who they are as people, which I think is great.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's really cool. But then on the other hand, Norm Macdonald Live, great podcast, fantastic. Norm's still kind of...
He's an enigma,
sometimes he'll be a little bit more personal depending on the guest, and he'll be a little bit more cerebral and go deep onto certain topics. And then other times he is kind of putting on a show.
Yeah, like he's always like trolling. So,
so he can be very, especially on Norm Macdonald Live, very sarcastic. But then on Norm Macdonald Has a Show, it's kind of 50-50, depending on the guest. Like when he had Billy Joe Schaefer on, who's like one of his very close friends and someone he respects, you could tell he was still silly, but there was a little bit more of the real Norm in there. And I think Norm's great like that. And like you said, he's kind of enigmatic.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
He is. He really is.
Yeah, he's a genius. So as far as comedy goes, that's where we're at. I can't remember if I mentioned this on the last podcast, but I saw Kevin James recently.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
That's so
cool.
And
what impressed me so much about Kevin James was that he performed clean.
That's incredible,
He was completely clean and absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, this stuff is really tough, and I don't think people realize that. A lot of people don't give guys like Kevin James and Jerry Seinfeld the accolades they deserve these days because they don't realize how hard it is to maintain like a clean set, especially this day and age where everyone's like fuck, politics, huh? It's like if you can manage to skate over all that stuff and still like be funny,
hard to do.
It's really hard to do.
Yeah, some of the best comedians I've ever seen live have worked almost entirely clean. And normally, like, based on my personality and my interests and my sense of humor, I'm always like, oh, that's lame. That's not going to be funny. Right. And then every time they prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And those guys have been the wittiest and the smartest, and they've had the most compelling material.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of, like, craftsmanship and talent to do that.
Yeah, it's incredible. So much respect to Jerry Seinfeld, Kevin James, Norm, all those guys. Yeah. Bill Burr, obviously.
Bill Burr,
I mean, he bounces. Yeah, but he's just an intelligent dude.
Yeah, but I mean, they all have charisma, but Bill Burr is more like, if anyone else said the shit he said, it wouldn't be funny. You know, like it's because it's him. He just like his delivery and his
he's
manners.
So honest.
Yeah.
He's so honest. Same with Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah,
Jim Gaffigan does a little bit more of a show, but I've noticed the older he gets, the more of his personal life's kind of seeping in. You know,
that's interesting.
And he's funny as hell.
Yeah,
and he's also a guy that works clean.
That's so cool.
And that's. That's impressive. I don't know if I could
One
work
day.
totally
Yeah, I don't know if I
clean,
can do that. Yeah.
I mean, I can, like, if I had to, but like, I think so much of my personality is like, you might throw a fuck in there every once in a while.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But I so much respect to those guys who
Yeah.
can totally perform clean. Yeah. On to the next topic.
Yes.
We've been out of the groove for a while. What are we doing here?
Weirdos in this dark room.
Yeah, just
What's going on in the world?
sitting here, totally shoeless, smelling our toes. In the news, I saw this kid at MIT. I think it was MIT, one of those places. SEC.
If it was a movie, it would be MIT.
Yeah, this kid at MIT came up with this thing where you can surf the web with your mind. Just Google it. They did a 60 Minutes thing on it, and MIT surfing the web mind kid, and you should be able to find it that way.
Search it with your mind, see if it works.
Yeah, just go into Pornhub and
Yeah. What?
yeah, surfing the web.
What if you're like a tempted guy
Yeah.
who can't really control what he's thinking, and
Yeah.
you end up like
60 Minutes. All right, Brian, show us how this works. Okay, well, a big dick. No. No. Give me a math equation. Pussy. Yeah. So
What's the answer? It's like big Emily gone wrong.
yeah. Milf porn.
What's the answer to this math question? Oh man, no, but yeah,
Hot teen learns to surf the web
right?
with her mind. But you're my stepbrother.
Oh man, but yeah, it is.
This is wrong.
It is very surreal. It's
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, just that. I mean, I know that's a joke, but that kind of thing is like.
Well, no, you look it up though. It actually worked. Like literally, if you look it up, the 60 Minutes thing, the newscaster asked the kid who invented this thing, or guy, I don't know how old he is. Hey, here's a math equation, and he said it to him, and then the guy thought for a second, and then it transferred the answers to his mind somehow. Through I don't know, the electrical.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not smart enough for that. I don't know, but somehow, some way. He was able to conjure up the answer. And I'm like, wow, okay, so who's going to buy this technology off this kid? The government? Who? Google? Somebody? Yeah. And they're going to give him vast sums of money. And then where's it going to go from there?
Yeah.
How's it going to be integrated into our lives? What's it going to be used for? Like, that's creepy stuff, man. You're dealing with people's brains. It's like,
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about it. Obviously, I can't even come close to explaining the technology, but I think, the technology of the future is already here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is. That's like the final step towards, like, we're in the future now.
Oh yeah. I mean, literally, you think of something and whatever you call it, the electronic pulses of your brain, create. Yeah. I have no clue how it works.
Yeah.
Now.
I guess there's. Elon Musk was saying this is something he wants to happen. I guess he read it in some science fiction book where we all have a digital layer. Like, we have like our bone structure and then our muscles and then our skin, and like our cyber layer is like another part of our being almost. And that's I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel like everyone's cyber layer is very filthy.
Yeah. I feel like it's gonna screw with the very fabric of society like a lot.
Yeah, I think we are in a good time now, even though people are finding little things to cry and bitch about. But I think we are in a
Things
really
are really good right now.
We are in a really good, and I think that's why so many people are inflating little issues into big things because we're in such a prosperous time. But I don't know how it's going to be. It could go one of two ways. Either things are going to be very prosperous and euphoric, or it's going to turn into Logan's Run and things are going to be fucking awful, or like Westworld, It's going to fly off the rails. And it'll probably be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It's probably going to be so gradual we're not going to notice it. You're probably not going to have autonomous vehicles and the surfing the web with your mind thing for another, I'm going to say probably 40 years.
Yeah.
We still got a good run, hopefully, of having it be integrated slowly. But you're probably going to have a few things that fly off the rails and go wrong. You're going to have some weird accidents. And, of course, whenever things like that happen or whenever anything goes wrong, they always focus on that and give it a lot of attention in the media so people will know about it.
Yeah.
So they'll sensationalize the negative things. And then you'll probably have a lot of good things, too. You'll have a lot of good advancements with medicine, technology for helping people in hospitals and emergency rooms and stuff like that. With surgeries, I think there will be a lot of benefits for sure. And I think the driverless cars will be really cool, too, if they have their own lanes and they eventually perfect them.
Yeah, if they make them real. Yeah, there's always like issues with that. I remember I heard. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast yet, but my friend told me years ago when it was really early that some guy was testing out his autonomous vehicle, and he had gotten used to it, so he like wasn't even really watching the road, and there was like a risen big truck, like, you know, carrying a bunch of equipment or whatever,
Great.
and it was it was so high up that the car didn't sense it.
Oh shit.
And yeah, the car just like drove through it, and the guy got like decapitated.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because he wasn't even paying attention.
Was he all right?
So yeah, there's that was a few years ago, but I'm sure there's I don't know.
Jesus, yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of comes back to human error right there.
Yeah.
The guy would have been paying attention,
Right. Yeah.
You know, because obviously the technology's not there yet.
Yeah.
It's on its way for
Still
sure,
very,
but
very
it's like that big thing with the person behind the wheel reading or jerking off, whatever they were doing, and they hit the person walking across the street with the bicycle.
Right.
If they would have been paying attention, even then, would they have seen that person walking in front of a moving vehicle?
Yeah.
It's like still, like imagine you're driving on a dark road at night and you're going 50 miles an hour and you slam on the brakes because some hobo walks in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, like still, the person could die. So was that really the vehicle's fault, or was that a person jaywalking at night in front of a moving vehicle?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, yeah, and of course there's that gray area of, okay, had the person been paying attention behind the wheel, a lot of gray area. But that's a weird example. It's a weird case, and you can't fully blame that on technology that's still having the kinks worked out.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think definitely it would limit a lot of accidents in the future if they were able to perfect this technology, or at least get a lot closer to perfecting it.
Yeah.
And if the vehicles had their own lanes, things like that. If semis kind of had their own path, like, and they were almost more like trains.
Right.
You know, the autonomous vehicles, if they could just kind of be off the road entirely, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
that'd be great, because the human error is what really fucks shit up. You know.
Yeah, and yeah, come to think of it, I mean, you always see those car commercials nowadays where there's like a family, and there's like they're going somewhere in the car, and it's all like boisterous inside, and the dad's like trying to calm the kids down or something, and then they like almost get into an accident, and then the car stops it for them, right? Like they're trying to introduce that stuff, and they're like, oh, thank God we have this car, it saved their lives. But I've never heard of that saving anyone in real life.
Yeah, or like the kid chasing the ball runs. And then it's like the lady's about to smash the kid's head with her SUV, and then it stops, and they're like, oh. But my thing is, it's like, okay, so they'll need to work the kinks out on that too, because like, what if it just randomly stops your vehicle for no reason?
Right, yeah. Like, I mean, apparently they're selling these because you see the commercials all the time, but I've never heard. What
if you're on the highway and you're going like 60 miles an hour, and a jackrabbit goes in front, and then it slams on the brakes, and there's a semi behind, like. How does that work? Maybe I'm just not educated on this at all, but there's a lot of gray area, and there's a lot of things that still need to be worked on. But I think ultimately, if things, if the kinks get worked out and things are kind of refined and streamlined, I think it would be a really great thing to have less crazy drivers on the road and have more vehicles that you get in that are kind of like getting on a subway train,
Yeah, definitely.
But that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't know. The autonomous vehicles thing is weird. We'll see. I think people are going to get annoyed in traffic. There's going to be a weird phase where there's like half the people have them and half the people have, manual cars still.
It'll be like horses and Model Ts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Get a horse.
Yeah. They're because they're probably going to go like exactly the speed limit, and everyone's going to get pissed.
Well, I think that'll be weird. Yeah, the integration, like where you can imagine sharing the road and you look over and nobody's in the car.
Right, it's terrifying.
But at the same time, like, is that better than like some old lady who's half asleep or some crackhead playing on his phone?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what's scarier, really?
Yeah.
And I think also when the numbers come out, I mean, because those are so expensive right now. I don't even have a ballpark range of how expensive those vehicles are, but I'm sure they're a lot. But to have, thousands of those on the road, I mean, they'll have to really refine the technology to make it doable and affordable. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. I think the rich people need it too. I was driving to work the other day, and there was this guy in a Tesla who was like almost swerved into me. He was like just on his phone, not paying attention at all. He was in the lane next to me, just fucking like Tony
completely
Stark.
beyond the line. Yeah, what the hell, man? I just think of a shit, but
I think they have a new law here where you can't be on your phone now.
Yeah, just this too much. But you can be if you're at a red light, but otherwise you can't. Yeah, which is kind of cool because I usually do that anyway. Red light, check the phone. There you go. I think most reasonable people do that, but
that's good though because you see so many fuckheads that are just literally not even talking on their phone, but texting, and they're going really fast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, dude, like. Okay, I get it. You're a great multitasker, but just wait until you get to a red light. It can wait. Throw it on speakerphone. Talk to the person.
Yeah.
You don't need to be looking at your phone and risking everyone's life around you.
Yeah.
Your social life isn't that important.
Yeah. No,
But I think it's a good law ultimately.
Yeah, I agree. And then just to cap what we were talking about, the MIT mind web surfing. I don't know. That's gonna be weird. That's gonna be a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, it's gonna fall into probably the wrong hands. Like
you
a
could,
big
hack people's minds.
Big company's gonna buy it, and who knows which direction that could go.
Think how they're gonna implement that into like warfare and stuff. I feel like that's gonna be such a weird.
What I find weird is that we can be so advanced as far as technology, and people are still fighting wars.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
fucking morons.
It's gonna be like Modern Warfare 5 in real life.
It's just
They're
weird.
Be commanding drone strikes with their mind.
It's just weird that certain people can have the ability to be so intelligent that they can come up with something like that.
Yeah, and they just kill people.
And then people are like, yeah, let's the meat grinder. Let's keep the war machine going. Let's keep fighting. It's just silly, man. I think. There's certain people who get it and certain people that don't, and it's always going to be that way.
Yeah, yeah.
You can give a message of peace, but only half the people are going to hear it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All we are saying is give peace a chance. Everybody talking about baggers. Shit.
Oh, man.
Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones, had heart surgery this past month.
Oh, yeah, he had to cancel the show.
Yeah,
right?
so they're going to have a show here in, I think, May?
Oh, is he coming back?
June, yeah, the Stones were going to come here. But, they had to reschedule because Mick had heart surgery. But everything I've seen online seems like he's doing good. On Twitter, he said he's eager to come back, hit the road. Recently on Netflix, I watched a really good documentary.
Oh.
It was like a rockumentary about when the Stones went to Cuba and did a show there in 2016.
Wow.
And I guess they hadn't been able to perform there because back in the day when their music first came out,
banned in Cuba.
Rock and roll was banned.
Yeah,
rock and roll was banned, which is really fucked up.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't until 1985 people were able to listen to the Stones' music and other rock and roll. So they have like this crazy following, like people that are like think of the Stones as like a religion down there in Cuba, and it's a really beautiful.
That's cool. And so it's like more fresh for them because it's like
very
85.
Fresh, yeah.
They just started listening.
Yeah, just started getting a hold. Everything else was bootlegs,
That's crazy.
But if you watch it, it's called I forget what it's called, but just look up
Rolling Stones go to Cuba.
Yeah, Rolling Stones go on a Cuban vacation, and they eat Cubanos, and Charlie Watts gains a lot a weight.
Rolling Stones 2, Adventure to Cuba.
Yes.
That sounds cool, though.
What
an interesting situation.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. And, it showed a bit of their South American tour, and it was like half documentary, half rockumentary, half concert, movie, whatever you want to call it.
That's cool.
But I'm just a big fan of the Stones, and it was cool. It was cool seeing those guys. It seemed like they're having so much fun, too, for their age. Like, it seems like they're generally enjoying themselves,
Yeah, that's I can't... Whenever I see guys live, those old classic bands, and they're playing the same shit they've been playing for like 50 years or whatever. It boggles my mind. It's incredible, and they always do such a good job. And
they're having fun.
I can't imagine singing the same song, playing the same piece of music for that many years and still like digging it. But it's incredible.
Yeah, well, you got to figure. I mean, everyone loves them.
Yeah.
When they go out there, it's like people are like freaking out, like worshiping them almost.
Right, yeah.
And you're doing something you enjoy. You're performing your own stuff.
Yeah.
And you're making tons of money.
Yeah.
You're getting to travel. And that's the only thing they've known. They've been doing that literally since they were teenagers.
That's very cool.
Speaking of that, I saw the great Sammy Hagar on a podcast recently. I believe it was Jenny McCarthy's podcast. And she was asking him that. She's like, oh, when are you going to throw in the towel? When are you going to retire? And he kind of laughed because he's like 71. And he was saying, what's retirement? He's like, my idea of retirement was always hanging out, doing what I love when I want. And what is he doing? Part of the time he gets to hang out on a beach and enjoy himself. The rest of the time he gets to make music and go on tour with his friends. And the rest of the time he owns a tequila company. Yeah. So it's like
that's all stuff you'd want to do in retirement anyway.
His thing's like, what's retirement? He's like, I'm just doing what I enjoy doing. And he enjoys making music. He enjoys touring. He enjoys tequila and being a business owner. And he has enough money where he never has to work again if he doesn't want to.
Right.
But he doesn't see that stuff as work. And I think that's kind of the same as the Stones, McCartney, Billy Joel, any guys like that, any of those big icons. It's like they're doing it because they love it. It's decades past the point of doing it for the money.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt either making more money. You can never have too much money. But I think it's the fact that they really have a passion for it and they're having a good time.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah, that's like all that stuff is like what, someone who had just retired from, some cubicle job would want to do,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like they've already almost been retired for their whole lives.
Yeah.
they're living the dream. They're doing what they want to do. I think at that point, then it's almost irrelevant.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on being a musician and doing creative stuff such as the podcast or video projects, whatever? Where do you see yourself? Let's say if God willing, we live to be in our 70s. What do you see yourself doing?
I see myself writing more music. I'm okay with like putting myself. So I mean, I enjoy performing, but yeah, I feel like at 70, especially, I wouldn't have a problem with kind of taking a back seat and maybe just doing more like recording with people, for people, or like writing music for musicians. Because even
That
now,
could be very lucrative.
yeah, that could be, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love writing, and even now performing is like, I mean, I enjoy performing, but it's definitely not my favorite part. I love the creating, and I think you too, like, creating is the best aspect of it. So I'd be totally cool with like getting some good performers to, like, do my stuff. That would be amazing. I couldn't think of anything better than that.
Yeah. It'd be kind of cool to give that gift to another performer.
Yeah.
Hear their spin on it. I think that's the same with screenwriting as well.
Right, yeah.
There's certain projects where you're like, oh no, we got to do this. This is ours. This is our baby. There's other ones where it's like you're half in love with it, and you're like, okay, this would be better suited for someone else.
Yeah.
And you kind of are okay with passing it along and seeing someone else's interpretation.
Yeah, give it life. Yeah, it's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree, man.
it'd be great.
That's a good way to be. I like the idea of starting up some kind of company like that too. Like a lot of these guys do, like the hot sauce, the tequila, the coffee. Like have some like side thing like that. That's
right.
It doesn't take up all your time, but it's kind of a fun little side entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Good shit. Good
and
shit.
yeah, I had a question. So my question for you.
Oh, you have a question for me?
I had a question for you.
I'll take the question.
It's because I know this is kind of going back to we were talking about comedians.
Okay.
'Cause I haven't done any stand up. You do stand up.
I've done stand up.
You've done stand up. And I was thinking, because there's so many different minds going into comedy. When you write your material, are you thinking about what makes you laugh, or what makes the audience laugh, or what gets reaction? Like what's the main?
I kind of think of a mixture of both. I think of initially in my head, oh, that's kind of funny. I like it. Is this something that I laugh at? Like first, that's the very first filter to knowing if it's good enough. Is this something that I find entertaining? And then if I think it's good enough, I think, how can I mold this so that other people can enjoy this as much as I just did in my head?
Yeah.
So it's so half of it is, does this pass my bullshit test? And then the other half is, okay, yeah, how do I make this digestible for the audience?
Yeah, those are good.
So 50-50 really. It's like half, do I like this and would other people like this?
Right.
And I think that kind of defines, whether or not I want to put something out there.
That's good, yeah. I think that's the way it works for, like guys like Burr and Seinfeld, because there's times when they're doing stand-up and they'll laugh at their own joke, but it's almost endearing,
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny to see them crack up like that.
It
to
is
their own
good,
stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, that's good.
So yeah, I'd say it's 60-40.
Yeah.
60 on making me happy and 40 on making them happy. And it changes, but you don't want to go fully into the mode of just pleasing the audience, because every audience is going to be different.
Yeah.
And especially if you're doing like stuff right in the beginning and it's a lot of open mic and audiences that don't know you, if you aren't true to yourself, you're going to be trying to please an ever-changing group of people that's constantly aging and constantly changing and constantly being cycled through. So you can't win. You can't do that. You have to kind of find your own voice. And I actually met Chris Kattan, the stand-up comedian, and I asked him that. I was like, hey, what advice do you have for someone starting stand-up? And he said, be true to yourself. And as cliche as it sounds, he said, be true to yourself, do what makes you laugh. And I think that's so true. It's like you have to find your own voice with anything, with comedy, with writing, with music, with whatever it may be. You have to put your own stamp on it, because you see what happens when people sell out. Right. And when people are kind of doing things in an artificial way or inauthentic way, you can just kind of tell.
Yeah.
and so I'd rather be the kind of, whatever you want to call me, performer, artist, creative type. I don't know what the hell I am, but if I'm gonna put something out there, I want it to be a part of me. Definitely.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I want you to kind of see inside my mind. So I guess, does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it totally does. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. What about you? Same question.
Yeah, I mean, just in a general creative sense, yeah, I have to definitely. I mean, it's always. Yeah, I think the same exact process. It's like if you find worth in something personally, that makes you want to show it to people. But then the second question is like, how do I make this seem worthwhile to other people? You know. So then that's when you gotta like tweak it a little bit to make sure it's like entertaining, or you get the point across, whatever it is you're trying to say. Yeah. So I think staying true to yourself is very important. There's always lesser known comics that have a sort of a not as hardcore and enthusiastic fan base because they're very, like, they spread themselves too thin. They're very commercial, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know to name any names because I'm gonna be mean, but
yeah.
There's a very clear distinction between like B-level comics who like get by, but you know, you might laugh a little bit, but you kind of forget their names, and then there's like guys like Jerry and Bill Burr and whoever who like just go 100% into.
And a big thing about those guys, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Is their fan base comes to see them because they know what to expect, and they found them because of that authenticity. And you get a lot of people who are trying to please everyone, and they really don't cultivate that same following.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's right.
It's like if you're consistent and you're pushing the envelope and you're speaking your true voice, then your fans are going to find you and they're going to respect you for that, and they're going to come to expect that and kind of get where you're coming from. But like you said, if you're selling out and you're changing constantly to stay with the times, I don't know if that's going to work long term.
Right. Yeah, it seems exhausting and like very hollow.
Yeah.
A hollow existence.
It's like, and suddenly if someone we really respected, like Burr or whoever, just completely changed, you'd be like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah, right.
And you know they wouldn't, because that goes so against their character.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
You see some people like that, you know, I'm trying to think who's a good example like that. I don't want to shit on him because I don't know him, but it kind of seemed like Dane Cook kind of fell into that trap a little bit. Sure. And like, you know, he had redeeming qualities. He seemed like a fun guy, and I know he went through some personal stuff definitely, and that's why he dropped off the map for a while. So, you know, I don't know the guy's whole story, but it definitely seemed like in the late, you know, 2009, 2010 era, he definitely fell into that.
Yeah.
And who knows, man?
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Knows?
Totally.
It's not sustainable, though.
Yeah. No, yeah, not at all. I can't, It's a completely different mind that would even attempt something like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't understand it.
And I think a lot of comics do that when they fall into Hollywood also. When they...
Yeah.
Notice how I said fall into Hollywood.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it's different. It's not... I don't know. It's like they're trying to be someone they're not.
Yeah.
To uphold this image. And not all comics do that, but like I feel like... Well, it's a bad example. Steve Martin's on his own plane. Like, he's on his own level. Yeah, and he was also done with stand-up by the time he went full force into movies. He stopped doing stand-up.
Oh, that's true.
So he just recently came back into doing stand-up.
A good example would be this guy. I actually don't know his full name. On YouTube, for a while, he was just known as Kyle. Like, literally all lowercase. That was his YouTube channel, Kyle.
Okay.
And he would do little, like, character sketches. The one that really blew up was, he was pretending to be like, you know, just like a fan of weed who like smoked a lot of weed, and he was like, he totally nailed it. It was hilarious. He was like just completely ripping on like people who smoke constantly and are just like, yo dude, you want to go over and smoke, bro? You know, like he had the character down 100%. It was hilarious. And then he had like this like 8th grade cool guy that would bring like blades to school and think like show his friends and think he was cool, you know, like that douchebag. He had like the big baggy black shirt and stuff. So he would just like do whatever he thought was funny. They were all different characters. And he all nailed them. And it was just on YouTube. He was just some dude on YouTube. And then SNL picked him up.
Oh, wow.
And lately he started doing movies. And he's just like this sort of side burner, not that funny. Because they're like forcing him into this very specific realm that he just doesn't... Like, he needs to do his own thing. And so they're kind of choking the life out of him. He was even in
That's the worst.
Zoolander 2, and he sucked. He was like really bad. Yeah.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was like, I think his name was Atari or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just like, it was weird.
Man, that's so stupid. That's lame. I love it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
You guys are the worst. You're my favorite.
And then yeah. Yeah, he was that guy. He was just, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, if it was the first time you saw him, maybe it was kind of funny. But to me, like, seeing him on YouTube and then seeing him that was like, ooh.
Really?
Yeah. Like, he was way funnier on YouTube, and now they're just...
Kind of stifled.
Yeah. You can tell they pick him up and then they just put a leash on him, which is sad, you know.
Yeah, that doesn't work, and I feel like you can't do that with the greats.
Yeah. It's like, you're talented, now we're gonna put you back here.
Yeah.
You know, it just sucks.
And there's a lot of comedians that I feel like are famous and they're popular, but right now they really don't have the right outlet. Like for example, one of my favorites who I really like a lot is Will Sasso. I really love Will Sasso. He was on Mad TV. And he was hilarious on Mad TV. He was one of the core cast members. He was so funny, and that was a great outlet for him. And then he did a few movies here and there, and the same kind of thing. It seemed like he was kind of restricted. Or he'd be like the supporting character on a TV show or like have a guest spot, but he didn't really have much wiggle room. And it seemed like he was kind of confined, and they'd be like, okay, you're the fat guy, and you're the neighbor, and that's it. And it was kind of like he seemed kind of stifled,
Yeah.
And he's so much funnier than that, and he's so talented. And I would love to see Will Sasso have his own like he actually does a lot of stuff on YouTube that's pretty funny. And I think he might have a Snapchat too, but he's always putting like little things out like that, like little snippets, little impressions, little funny tidbits, But I would love to see someone like Will Sasso have like his own. I don't know what would be the right outlet. Maybe like a late show or something like that, or like a Showtime or HBO show where he could kind of run wild a little bit and have a little bit more creative freedom. Because he's one of those guys that I think is just funny as hell. Like if you're not familiar with Will Sasso, look up Will Sasso on Mad TV. It was some of the funniest stuff ever.
I'll have to check him out. Yeah.
He was absolutely hilarious. So I think a big part of it is not selling out and also having the right outlet. For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Will Sasso would be good with like a podcast or like a talk show.
Yeah.
Like a talk show.
I think that's why there's so many different kinds of comedians have been blowing up on the internet because it's like the internet is completely unfiltered, So like whatever your niche is, you're gonna fit on the internet because it's just people, So eventually those people that dig your stuff are gonna find you, and there's nothing filtering out whatever it is you're trying to do. You can post totally unedited raw footage of whatever it is you're doing.
Pocket pussy.
Exactly. That's why I was just thinking the other day, Sam Hyde.
Yeah.
So I mean, some of the stand up he does, like quote unquote stand up, because it's not real stand up. It took me so long to figure out like how. I don't even know if he realizes how like specific and weird it is. But most of the stand up he does. He literally said in an interview once, like, his goal is to evacuate the room as quickly as possible.
Oh,
that was what he said. So, like, he tries to, like, piss people off and make people uncomfortable.
That's like kind of like the Joel McHale approach.
Right, yeah. So, without the sort of second layer of someone filming it and putting it on the internet, it's not funny. You know what I mean? Like, if just that live audience sees it, they're going to fucking hate him.
Yeah.
But then there's, like, people who understand the situation on the internet and will see it online later on who think it's funny. But if you were part of if you were there live with him, it's just going to be like an uncomfortable,
they're almost like
the
butt of the joke.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just really weird. Like he needs the internet for that stuff to work.
It's interesting.
Very strange. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of going back to Andrew Dice Clay, the day the laughter died?
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
He went into Rodney Dangerfield's comedy club, and made a point to bomb. He went in on like a random night and there's like hardly any people there, and he deliberately bombed. And the only reason I know about this is because of our boy Joe Rogan. And I actually finally listened to Dice Clay's recording of this, and it was funny as hell. He just went in there and he riffed and he deliberately bombed. And you can hear people in the audience, they're like, "What's going on?" Like this is and it's funny, and it turned out to be like a big comedy album. Because like you said, the people in the audience are like pissed off, but like
in hindsight,
you're like, that's so funny. Yeah. It's like you're going in and you're just talking out your ass, and like literally. I respect that kind of stuff. That's I think there's stand-up is so interesting because you look at it on the surface level and it seems like just like okay, person telling jokes, okay, get it. But when you look at it as more of like a performance art, like that, it's like whoa, there's so many layers to it that I 100%. Really respect and would love to discover more about.
Yeah.
So you wanted to show me the what was it?
Star Wars trailer.
Star Wars?
Yeah. Ben hasn't seen it yet, so I'm just gonna show it to him real quick.
I have not seen the new Star Wars trailer.
Oh my goodness.
We're okay to have the audio on here. It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
Cool.
Some little indie company called Disney. All right. Oh God. Heavy breathing.
They always start with heavy breathing.
There's Ray.
On the same planet they've been on the whole time.
My favorite. Getting real winded in the desert there.
Knock off Tatooine.
Even the lightsaber looks cheap. She got it at Target.
But this is your fight.
Every generation has a legend. Love how the trailer starts. I just go in not liking it.
It's so stupid.
Cheesy. It's like a caricature of what Star Wars should be.
Oh, then watch this part. What you gonna do?
Jump. He's gonna jump.
Yep.
Oh, God. Come on.
Whoa, that was so epic, dude.
It's like a bunch of people who've never seen Star Wars making Star Wars
Yeah.
movies. I feel... Oh. Don't bring Lando into this. You leave Lando alone. Oh, boy. Carrie Fisher?
Yeah, probably.
They had some footage of her?
Maybe. Or they CGI'd her.
Yeah.
Look, there's a Death Star. It's in the ocean.
Oh, God. He's the Emperor.
Yeah. They're literally, he's coming back. He didn't die.
The Rise of Skywalker. Boy, that's a bad title.
That's a really bad title.
The Rise of Skywalker.
All right, so what'd you think about that?
They've beaten it completely to death.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it disgusts me.
There was, I don't know if it said it in this trailer, but I think the initial trailer said like, the saga comes to an end,
Bullshit.
and that
Bullshit.
stood out to me. That one little phrase stood out to me because it still feels to me like this whole thing has just started. Like nothing's happened yet. Like,
Yeah,
what do you mean the saga's coming to an end? Nothing happened.
Yeah.
In 3 movies they managed to accomplish nothing.
Yeah, you spent your money and were disappointed.
Yeah.
And there's so many people who really like it, and my thing is, if you like it, okay, it's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But you're listening to us right now, so you're going to hear ours.
Yes.
My thing is, I feel like as a Star Wars fan, you want to like it.
Yeah.
You
right.
want to like it, and you want to enjoy it, and you want to recapture the magic of the original trilogy.
Right.
Not possible. And I feel like these new ones, like I said, are like a cheap knockoff of a once great saga.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like,
and my biggest issue is I remember early on J.J. Abrams, when he was first signed on the first film, he said something really obnoxious and like shitty. He's always been like openly shitting on the prequels. He said like, it was some comment where he was like, I'd love to put, like a skeleton of Jar Jar in Jakku somewhere just so we know he's dead. He was such a dumb character. Haha, wouldn't that be funny? But in this trailer, how many times did they fall back to the original trilogy? Like there was a Scarif from episode 6 that they were on. You literally saw the Death Star. There was Lando. At the end, they're bringing the Emperor back, which is the dumbest thing. That's like in episode 3. That's like in Spider-Man 3 when they said, "Oh no, that person didn't kill your uncle. It's this guy."
Mm-hmm.
It like completely cheapened and destroyed that whole sequence in the first Spider-Man when he gets revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was such a powerful sequence, and it was like, "Oh no, it's fake." So now it's like all of episode 6, Darth Vader throwing the Emperor down the thing and saving his son and becoming the chosen one like he was always supposed to be. Now that whole scene is like, fuck, that whole movie is like pointless now because the Emperor is actually real. He's gonna come back as a cyborg or something stupid.
and I feel like even in Rogue One, wasn't there a big fight scene with Darth Vader?
Yeah.
My thing is, everyone loved it. Yeah, because those are the remnants of a once great series. That's the only thing you like in there is like your childhood memory of like, remember when Star Wars was actually not shitty?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And like with every film, they're leaning more and more on the old ones because they know they're going downhill, so they're like a crutch. Like, wait, no, we gotta go back.
I look at these and I feel like they're not allowing them to be their own independent things.
Yeah.
They're trying to hang everything way too much weight on just nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that can only go so far. And you look at this and it's like there's no new stories being told. There's no new characters that really seem to be very endearing at all.
Yeah.
Like Finn and Rey, it's like, no offense to the actors. Like, obviously, if we were offered Star Wars roles, we'd take them too.
Yeah.
It's not that I hate them, but I just feel like the characters are kind of lackluster.
They're very bad, yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, the whole world feels kind of phony.
It really does. Yeah, there's no depth to it.
It doesn't feel like,
depth.
okay, here's Luke, crashing in the Dagobah system and finding Yoda in this amazing journey. That stuff all felt like, oh wow, this is part of a cohesive story, and this makes sense. I feel like in these new ones, it's kind of like, here's what happens, explosion, fight, boom.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no arc. So that's why it feels like nothing's happened. Within 3 movies, it's like we really haven't gone anywhere because we haven't had any starting point.
Yeah, everything feels like it's all for the ooh factor in the theater of people saying, "Oh wow, I wasn't expecting that,"
Yeah,
and like they're more focused on this initial presentation,
Right.
and they're not focused on making a long-standing great film.
Yeah, that's the thing I noticed. I'm not gonna give any spoilers away, but I saw Endgame last night. It was fun, but like it was again like exactly what you just said. It was fun in the moment. Like it's very awe-inspiring when you're watching it, and then when you walk out, it's like, all right, now let's go do something else. It's like I've watched that. But when I watch like I don't know, like an A24 movie or a Coen Brothers film, it's like it takes almost like a day or more for you to take in the whole thing.
Yeah,
because it's there's more substance. You know. Yeah, but these are like. Yeah, they're very face value.
And I know my opinion differs from the mainstream and a lot of people, but my opinion is like a film, and I know you agree with me here, like Hell or High Water.
Yeah.
That's one you want to go back and rewatch every so often.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men. Movies like that. You want to go back and Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
You want to go back and revisit those every so often. And you really appreciate them. You appreciate the subtle nuances of the actors' performances, and you appreciate the cinematography, and you appreciate the pacing and the storytelling and everything. And it's like everything comes together to create this beautiful film. And you look at that with these new movies, and they're just cheap popcorn entertainment. Well, maybe not cheap. It's actually very expensive popcorn entertainment.
Incredibly expensive popcorn.
But you look at it, and I just don't see people quoting the Avengers. I don't see people going back and... I have a hard time imagining people going back and watching this 3-hour movie 10 years from now and saying, "Oh, yeah, this is my favorite."
Yeah, this is a hallmark in the film industry.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people it's bandwagon. You know, like you might enjoy that thrill, like going on a roller coaster right then and there.
Yeah.
But in the long run, is it really going to hold up? Be honest with yourself. Is it really going to hold up?
Especially with these like Avengers movies and stuff, and with Star Wars movies too. It feels more like a sporting event than like a movie. Yeah, because it's something like it's cool when it's happening and it's in theaters and like the spoilers, blah blah blah. But yeah, when like a year from now, no one's gonna give a shit.
Yeah.
And movies, movies that are actually like films, they're about the story, they have more substance. They're like beloved for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine them having a Harkins Tuesday night classic 35 years from now and showing Avengers Endgame with those graphics and those like really, dude?
Right. Yeah.
Really? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just different. Maybe I'm an outsider, but I just don't see it holding up in the long run. Like you said, it's a very instant gratification culture right now.
It is. Very strange. Very strange.
That's a shame. But yeah, as far as the new Star Wars go, I checked out a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was very excited. I was at the premiere of Episode 7. I was stoked.
I was excited too.
I was so excited. I was so excited. And it was so cool. I went to the premiere. They had radio DJs there. They had a guy in a Darth Vader suit, and they had a whole line of stormtroopers when you came in.
Yeah, me too.
It was like the premiere.
Yeah.
Went in. It was so exciting. And then as it went on, I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And then... oh no, and then I'm like, it's not getting any better.
Yeah.
And then I walked out and I went with one of my buddies who's a massive Star Wars fan, like one of the biggest, and he didn't like it either. Yeah. And I was like, okay, we have a problem.
Yeah.
And what was weird is everyone loved it, except for my close inner circle of my echo chamber of friends.
Yeah.
And,
well, right. And I think it's important to know because a lot of people a lot of people who listen to guys like us think we're geared to hating it initially, but no. I was so excited. I remember like
I was very excited.
This sounds dumb. This sounds ridiculous. But I was literally like when I saw the Lucasfilm logo come up for the first time in episode 6, I started tearing up because like I never thought I'd see another Star Wars again. And I was so excited. And then by the end of it, we were walking my car. I was with my friend who had never seen a Star Wars movie before, and she asked me like, "What did you think of it?" And I remember like I had nothing to say because I was still like.
Process.
Yeah, I was still so baffled that like it was not good. And that's the other thing. A lot of people think the bat.
What did the person think of it who had never seen it? She probably liked it, right?
That was all right. Yeah. I think
had nothing to compare it to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she wasn't blown away, but she thought it was like a well-made movie or whatever.
She wasn't depressed. Like
right. Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying though?
But the other thing is that most of the people who have issues with this new series think the issues began with The Last Jedi, but they began right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's like everything that they had set up for the new world didn't make sense.
It was built on shaky ground.
It was built on very shaky ground. The characters were built, every aspect of it was not thought out at all.
I think you got a problem when you go into a movie like that and you say, we're going to make a Star Wars movie. No, not just a movie, a new series.
Yeah.
And you go in and you have all these high expectations and they feel the need to throw in all these ancillary characters and it just doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And like maybe I'm just a bit cynical, but that's honestly how I feel. It
They were trying
feels
to force something out.
they were trying to force the force.
Yeah, yeah, they were.
And I just think that can't sustain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, when George Lucas obviously was making his, he was creating. It was out of his mind. He was just doing what he thought would be a good story, would be fun, blah, blah, blah. And then, when they're doing it, they're almost trying to recreate
They are exactly
what he tried to do. Yeah, and then, so it's just not working. It feels very,
contrived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they could have done such a better. Anyone could have done a way better job. They fucked up so bad, and it's so baffling to me because they're Disney, right? I mean, you should be able to make a decent movie, and it's so amazing how badly. And you can tell none of these movies are like you said. It's just like stuff happens. There's no arc. There's no continuity really in terms of the story. It's just like here's a movie, here's another movie, some stuff happens. Here's the last movie. It's very there's nothing is cohesive. Yeah.
Well, and what's weird is. Like maybe it's just the way I'm wired, just because the kind of movies I watched growing up and the kind of things that I'm, I have a tendency to like. But I feel like when I watch these movies, I have a very, very hard time connecting with the characters.
Yeah.
And something's lacking in the execution where it's like, let's go back and look at a movie. Oh, I don't know, Karate Kid. That's one I always go back to because it's such a solid movie and such solid storytelling. You really connect with Daniel LaRusso right off the bat.
Yeah.
You see where he's coming from. They give you just enough insight into his life, his family, and even Johnny. You get where he's coming from, the bad guy in the original. You get it. You see the characters, and they did such a good job of introducing these characters and getting you on Daniel's side right off the bat, like within 10 minutes. And maybe it's just... I don't know. I should be able to explain it, but I can't. But in these new ones, it feels like they're urging you to feel something, or they're inviting you to feel something and be on the side of the main character. But it just doesn't happen. There's some disconnect.
I think,
And even in sci-fi movies, like right off the bat, like in the original, Luke, you're on Luke's side.
Right.
Of course, you get it. You see where he's coming from. You get it. You're right there with him. And even the droids, like you're right there in the very beginning with R2-D2 and C-3PO, right in A New Hope. And you're on their side. And in these new ones, it feels like they're trying to make you feel something, especially when a character dies. And you're just like, I don't care.
They're not like fully realized characters, and I think it's because Disney's hoping everyone's gonna like them, so they're being really careful, like when they're writing them, but like way too careful. Like, we can't say this because what if someone disagrees with that? So they're making them so bland that like everyone can take a bite,
Yeah.
But when they're doing that, it makes it just boring.
And you like a character that's a little flawed. Like, I feel like Han Solo was kind of rugged and flawed in the original.
Yeah. Like he was like, I just want the money, and he leaves. Yeah, but that's that's good. Yeah.
And then I feel like in these new ones, it's like they try to go for that, but it's all very safe, and it feels like, oh, this is the archetype of the character that's trying to be like this character, and it's
everyone's like this sort of blanket good person for no reason.
Everything's lacking. I don't know, man. I as a writer, I should be able to explain this more clearly, but I don't know, man. There's just definitely a very clear disconnect in the storytelling and the characterization.
Yeah. And my friend made a good point just about Finn specifically. He was like,
Finn should have had a lot more intensity. He used to be a stormtrooper.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He was like, Finn basically comes from like the Nazi regime, the Third Reich of Star Wars.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be goofy. That's what he he should be this war torn, shell shocked.
What would be cool with Finn, where I think they really dropped the ball, and I said this before in one of our previous podcasts, but he should be the one that's able to not flinch and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
He should be the one where he is a good guy, but like you really don't know until maybe like a second or third movie in.
Yeah.
And like literally if they're in a hardcore situation, Finn could be like the best friend or the love interest or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But then he's just a fucking killing machine for like 10 seconds, and then he like snaps out of it, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. And Finn like has this like PTSD. Like they could have really played with that.
Yeah. And I think he was one of the most. He had the most potential. Like the idea of a rogue stormtrooper was really, really cool.
Yeah.
But it was the first scene where he's like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like it should have been more of a gradual. Like I'd like to see him as a stormtrooper for the first 20 minutes maybe, and then something goes wrong. But it was like literally the first scene. He was like, no, someone died.
It would have been cool if there was a scene where he's like in it, and it's like he has to go up against his own and like turn the blaster on the other stormtroopers,
right.
you know.
And he really didn't have any incentive. They tried to give us that dumb shot where like his friend dies and he like wipes his blood on him.
Yeah,
but that's not enough.
The only blood in all 6 movies.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
He should have seen something more important, more game changing that makes him change his mind. And until then, he should be like unfazed killing machine. Yeah, I agree with that.
They dropped the ball
They
on that one.
definitely dropped
And I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's just they dropped the ball big time.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's gonna. I gave up hope
It's
on it.
done.
I
Yeah, it's
didn't
done.
even go see the last one.
It was done as soon as 7 came out for me.
Yeah, I think it ends with 1 through 6.
1 through 6, yeah.
Yeah.
That is Star Wars to me. That's my canon.
Yes.
Hashtag my canon.
Yes, the original trilogy is my favorite. The prequels, I still enjoy a lot of them.
Yeah.
They had a lot of redeeming qualities that people overlook.
Yeah.
But the original trilogy.
Jar Jar was so awkward. How can you like those movies?
Yeah, God.
That's always just what you hear.
Go suck your water
Yeah.
jug. Yeah.
Every Disney movie has an obnoxious comedy sidekick, you know?
Yeah.
Jar Jar looked dumb. He was kind of silly, but
Misa!
that's the point. Kids are supposed to go, haha, he's a duck, he's talking. You know, it's like, yeah. This is if you really ruin the whole movie for you, you got to reevaluate, like, why you're watching movies. You know?
Exactly.
Like, I'm sorry.
Why are you watching Star Wars?
Yeah.
Come on. Like you said, the pod racing scene.
Yeah, pod racing scene was incredible, dude. So
Fantastic.
fucking good. Holy shit. Yeah, that one scene was like better than all the 3 recent movies that have come out, the Disney ones.
Yeah, and those still had heart. I mean, they were trying.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, something happened post. I would say like 2010. Something happened with movies.
Yeah.
You know, where things just changed. They tried throwing in way too much CGI. Characters became way more 2-dimensional.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Disney started this explosive, like,
They're turning on it too
desire. They're
quickly.
trying to like take over the world. Yeah, they're turning on it too quickly, and they're doing all those live action things, even of their own stuff. Like it's interesting because they're buying out Marvel, they're buying out Star Wars, and they're like trying to suck up those, but they're also trying to suck up their own shit. Like
I think they
like,
bought Fox recently too.
Yeah, that's gonna be weird. That means they own Alien. That makes me so angry.
Oof.
I love Alien.
Alien's
Fucking
great.
Alien, dude. Disney can't have that.
Does that mean they own The Simpsons now too?
Yeah, I guess so.
How's that possible?
I know. Isn't it scary?
Yeah.
It's like they gotta stick with the IP that like makes sense to their.
Yeah, they should chill.
Stuff, yeah, they
I'd like to
really
see
should
Universal start buying up some property.
Yeah. I'd much rather have Universal have
Universal
Alien and
yeah, Warner Brothers is like stuck in the middle kind of. I feel like they're trying to please too many people right
I
now.
agree with that.
They kind of lost their edge a little bit. But
We'll see.
I don't know. Star Trek's supposed to be coming back with
Picard.
I don't Captain Picard is supposed to be coming back. Sorry, I'm getting all excited. But I don't know any of the details yet, but I would love to see that. I know Emmett's not a big Trek fan. But I really enjoyed The Next Generation.
Yeah.
I thought Star Trek The Next Generation was pretty
Yeah,
fantastic.
they're definitely fun.
And Patrick Stewart's the man. He's great, so I'm very curious to see what they will bring to the table. And I know they have that new Star Trek. I haven't watched it, the CBS one. That's like on its own streaming platform. They brought that out.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different...
That's supposed to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I guess they're putting the new Twilight Zone on there as well. Which I'm intrigued about, but I'm not
The
holding my
new
breath.
Twilight Zone, yeah, with
With the thingy.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele?
with Jordan Peele, yeah.
Jordan Peele.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to watch that because I just know...
I love the
don't
original.
know.
Yeah, I'll watch the new one out of curiosity, but I'm going to look at it as its completely own thing,
Yeah.
its own detached thing.
Yeah.
So I have a couple before we end here. I have a couple impromptu questions for you. I know you told me yours. I didn't get around to mine. Okay, so Emmett doesn't know these, so I will ask. Who is an overrated piano player in your mind? Overrated.
Oh, God.
Overrated.
No.
Pianist.
Like a classical pianist?
Anyone. Modern, classic, jazz, whoever.
That's a hard one. That's a really hard one.
Vastly overrated.
Vastly overrated.
In your experience with music classes and professors.
Okay. I don't like... You know who Lang Lang is? I feel like everyone's heard of him at some point.
Lang Lang, no.
Lang Lang. He's good, but he's just very he's very stock. Like if you wanted like the stock recording of some piano piece, he'd be there for you. He's
Lang sounds like a chimp.
Lang Lang. Yeah, I don't know. I can't get into him. He's just I don't know. He seems very very standard. He plays a lot, but I mean there's a lot of guys who have just a huge expansive repertoire under their belt that they can whip out, but just expressively and stuff. I don't know. I can't get into him. He's very he's almost like a pop classical pianist.
Lang.
Lang. Yeah.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's like a young Asian guy.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't get into him.
Bouncing off that, now who is a pianist who is underrated, who you think deserves more recognition?
Let's see. Oh, probably I'd have to go with Herbie Hancock.
Oh, Herbie's great.
Yeah, he's great. But a lot of people, especially a lot of people in the jazz community, are like, oh, he made Watermelon Man, which is like, yeah, it's one of his more popish tunes.
That was his
It's
like
just-
70s like
right,
fun era.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
But if you ever listen to like,
Doesn't Herbie Hancock live here?
does he?
I could be wrong on that
I don't
one.
know.
I could be wrong on that one.
Yeah, you might be right. I don't know.
I might be
But,
mistaken. I might be mistaken.
But yeah, I mean, I think because of the whole '70s explosion with Watermelon Man and stuff, people regard him as this, like this kind of like Lang Lang, where he's like this popcorn jazz pianist. But he's seriously good. He has an album called, I think it's just called like Herbie Hancock Plays Gershwin, where he plays all these old George Gershwin tunes. And there was I forget which, I think it was like some piece by Ravel, basically some classical piece, some really gorgeous like impressionist classical piece, like Clair de Lune kind of thing. But it was more, it was heavily orchestrated. There was like a flute part and a strings part, and it was just gorgeous. And he like improv'd over that. And it's like, I can't even begin to describe how difficult it is to like improv over a piece of classical music.
Yeah.
That stuff is written so specifically, like here's a note, here's a note, here's a note, play it exactly right. But he did it in a way that worked off of the original piano part, and he did it in a way that wasn't obnoxious and like totally fit.
Yeah.
So if you can do that, that's amazing. That blows my mind. So
That
he's
takes
very good.
That takes a crazy level of
Yeah,
skill. I can't
yeah.
even imagine. You'll have to show me that.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
All right, other question I had. All right, if you could live in a TV show besides Seinfeld, which TV universe would you live in?
TV universe.
And here's the rules. You can't come back. You go, you're done.
I can't come back.
You can take a couple friends and family with you. How about that? But you can't come back. You got to live in that reality.
Wow, that's tough.
Seinfeld's off limits.
The only shows I've watched like all the way through are Seinfeld and Breaking Bad, but I don't want to live in Breaking Bad.
You don't want to live in the world of Breaking Bad. No.
And I'm thinking like, I don't know, any cartoon, I'm gonna get bored of the cartoon world
Yeah.
quickly, so I can't do a cartoon.
Yeah.
I might do. I don't know, man. I don't want to do any of those stupid CW superhero shows either, because all those
Yeah.
people are really dumb. So. I might do like a Star Trek or something.
Really?
I don't know.
Star Trek?
Yeah, because you could go back to Earth at any time.
Okay.
You know, because Earth is like still there in Star Trek, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Old Star Trek, newer Star Trek?
Maybe newer. I think older would freak me out.
Yeah. Be a lot of monsters and
Yeah.
Shatner in your
Yeah,
face
yeah.
sweating.
Yeah, if I had to live there forever, it would probably be Star Trek, because I could just go back to Earth, and then when I wanted to, I could go on a little
I
space
can see
adventure.
that, yeah. I like Next Generation because the girls were hot for sure.
Yeah.
And their little outfit, they were just hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also liked they had this room in the Next Generation where you could go in and you could program what you wanted it to be, and it would be like a virtual reality chamber.
Oh, wow.
And you'd go in and be like, okay, I want this to be, Bourbon Street, 1980.
Oh, that's great. So I'd have
And
that,
like and like be like, you could pick everything. Be like, okay, a 3-piece band, a brunette over here, and the bar half full, and like you go in and like 7:00 at night, and like you go in and like it would be just like that, and it would be perfect, like a
Wow, I didn't know
VR
about
chamber,
that.
and I'm
That's
like, that
cool.
would be pretty sick.
That's pretty sick.
I would agree with you on that one, or I would, for myself, I would say aside from Seinfeld, probably like a 2.5 Men or 70s show.
That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be fun.
2.5 Men, it'd be fun. You just enjoy your life,
Yeah. I dig it.
Yes, good times.
Good times.
Well, I think that concludes the Unfazed podcast.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say.
Anything else you would like to add?
Got nothing. But yeah, I mean, let us know what you guys think in the comments, if you agree with us or disagree with us.
Yeah, and if you guys have any other topics you would like us to talk about, feel free to comment. And also support us on Patreon if you like what you hear and you want more content.
Yeah, we'll link it below.
All right, take it easy. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.